Hey guys, welcome to our weekly news show here on Backstage with Millionaires. I'm Caleb, your host, and we've got an exciting show planned for you guys this week because Simple Energy is planning on building the world's largest electric two-wheeler factory, even bigger than Ola Electric's future factory. We also have Delhivery acquiring a California-based drone startup. We also have India's latest startup unicorn and more coming up right after this. All right, so first up in the news, Simple Energy is planning on building the world's largest electric two-wheeler factory, even bigger than Ola Electric's future factory, which they started building earlier this year, and once it's finished, it's going to have an annual capacity of 10 million electric scooters. But Simple Energy is planning on going even bigger. Once their factory is finished, it's going to have an annual capacity of 12.5 million electric scooters, and they're planning to finish it by 2023. Now, to build this factory, they're going to be investing 2,500 crore rupees, and this factory is going to be located in Dharmapuri in Tamil Nadu. It's actually going to be Simple Energy's second manufacturing facility, and they're still building their first manufacturing facility, which is also located in Tamil Nadu. But once these two manufacturing facilities are finished being built, and then we've also got Ola Electric's future factory, which is also located in Tamil Nadu, it's definitely going to establish Tamil Nadu as a global hub for electric scooter manufacturing, and more generally, India as a hub for electric scooter manufacturing. Now, while we're on the topic of electric scooters, I wanted to update you guys on the Bounce Infinity E1. And I should have talked about this last week, but we didn't get a chance to. But it is an interesting scooter, and for those of you guys who aren't in the loop and don't know about the Bounce Infinity E1, I hope that this news item is informative for you because it is an interesting scooter. It's priced cheaper than the Ather 450 and Ather 450X and the Ola Electric S1 and S1 Pro at 68,999 rupees with the battery, but without the battery, it's priced at 45,099 rupees. And that's an interesting feature here. You can actually buy the scooter with or without the battery because Bounce is planning on setting up battery charging infrastructure across the metros of India so that you don't need to worry about buying a battery if you instead want to subscribe to one. These batteries take between 4 and 5 hours to charge. They have a range of 85 kilometers on a single charge, and the scooter has a top speed of 65 kilometers per hour, which is probably okay for people who are just going to be commuting on this scooter, going back and forth between the office and their home. Personally, that's a deal breaker for me. I would opt for an Ather 450 or some other electric scooter that has a top speed of 80 or 90 kilometers per hour. I know the Ather 450 has a warp mode where you can hit 90. And personally, I like to go on road trips. I like to travel across the city. Even before COVID, I was going and shooting interviews, so I was on the road a lot, and 65 kilometers per hour feels like a snail's pace, honestly. Especially if you're outside of the city and you're on a major expressway or highway, and you've got cars, trucks, and bikes flying past you at 100 plus kilometers per hour. It feels a little dangerous to be traveling at 65 kilometers per hour on roads like that. Obviously, that's not what the Bounce Infinity E1 is intended for, but personally, that would be a deal breaker for me. I don't know about you guys. Let me know what your thoughts are on that in a comment down below. Is that something that you actually think about when you're buying an electric scooter? Is the top speed? Is that something that would actually stop you from buying one of these? Or is that something that you think is kind of a secondary detail and you're just mainly thinking about the savings that you're going to get for not having to fill up your tank with petrol? All right, moving on to some acquisition news now. India's most valuable startup, Byju, has made their 10th acquisition of 2021. Austria-based GeoGebra, which builds interactive learning tools for mathematics. Now, this deal is estimated to be worth $100 million, and GeoGebra is going to continue to operate independently under the Byju brand. So with this acquisition, Byju is going to gain access to the more than 100 million students on the GeoGebra platform spread out across 195 countries, and it's also going to help them to continue building more engaging and interactive mathematics products. All right, next up in the acquisition news, and this one is quite interesting. Indian logistics unicorn Delhivery, which recently filed for their IPO, has acquired California-based drone manufacturing startup Transition Robotics. And through this acquisition, they're going to gain access to all of Transition Robotics' IP, that's intellectual property, which basically means that they're going to gain access to all of their drone technology. So what I'm predicting here, now that India's drone policy has become much less restrictive, is that Delhivery is going to be using this drone technology for their lab last mile delivery. Out of India's 19,101 PIN codes, Delhivery covers 17,000, which leaves 2,101 PIN codes that they don't deliver to. And it's not because they can't. It's because they don't want to. It's not economically viable for them because these places are very remote. They're hard to reach, especially by road. But if you have drones, you can actually fly over a lot of the obstacles that would make it difficult to reach these places on the road with a truck. So I'm curious to know what you guys think of this. Are we going to see drones delivering packages to remote parts of the country in, say, the next 2 or 3 years, or do you think it's further off than that? Leave your thoughts in a comment down below. All right, moving into some funding news now. Ride-hailing unicorn Ola has raised $139 million in a funding round led by Edelweiss at a $7.3 billion valuation. And this may very well be their final funding round before they go public in the first half of 2022. Now, in the financial year of 2021, they did see their revenues decline, which is to be expected. Pretty much every ride-hailing company in the world saw their revenues decline because of the pandemic, but they also became operationally profitable as they diversified their business and also cut their costs. Now, speaking of that diversification, Ola Electric has also raised some funds this week. They've raised $52.7 million in a funding round led by Temasek at a $2.7 billion valuation, which is actually a drop from their October of 2021 valuation of $3 billion. So I think the reason for this decline in valuation is multifold. We have Aether Energy and Simple Energy both announcing that they're setting up new manufacturing facilities and increasing their output. We also have the Bounce Infinity E1. So it looks like Ola Electric is starting to feel a little bit crammed here by its competitors. They're starting to lose a little bit of their market share. And then at the same time, they failed to deliver on their promised date of delivery of the Ola Electric S1 and S1 Pro, and they pushed that date to December 15th. Now that's right around the corner, so we will be covering it one way or another, whether they do actually deliver on that promised new push date or whether they extend it further. They push the date of delivery further because of the problems that they've been having. They said that they had some chip shortages. Is that going to be resolved? We're not sure. We're going to have to wait and see. But it looks like investors are looking at the situation with Ola Electric and thinking that perhaps some of the hype that had been surrounding this company back in October of 2021 might not have been justified. All right, next up in the funding news, Bizongo, which is a B2B startup that provides packaging solutions to e-commerce companies, has raised $110 million in a funding round led by Tiger Global Management at a $600 million valuation. So Bizongo has a network of 1,500 manufacturers who provide boxes, crates, bags, and pouches to their more than 120 enterprise clients. And just recently in September of this year, Bizongo became profitable, and they've achieved an annualized revenue of $200 million. They're planning to increase that number to $300 million by the end of this financial year. All right, next up in the funding news, let's talk about India's latest startup unicorn, the 41st of 2021 by our count. Healthcare startup Pristyn Care has raised $85 million, and they're planning to raise an additional $15 million as well in a funding round led by Sequoia Capital, Tiger Global, and Winter Capital. And they've raised these funds at a $1.3 billion valuation, which is up from their April of 2021 valuation of $550 million. So in a nutshell, what Pristyn Care does is they offer end-to-end surgery services, from finding a doctor to getting a diagnosis to actually having your surgery done, and then also post-surgery care. They're currently operational in 40 cities, and they have a network of 150 clinics, 700 hospitals, and 300 in-house super specialty surgeons. All right, next up in the funding news, agri-tech startup AgroStar, which we actually covered in the video that we made about India's top 10 agri-tech startups. You can find that video up here, has raised $70 million in a funding round led by Evolvens, Hero Enterprise, Shoulders Capital, and CDC. AgroStar helps farmers to increase their yields and their profits by offering them advisory services and also access to high-quality agricultural inputs. The startup is currently operational across 5 Indian states. They have 5 million farmers on their their platform, and they also have 1,000 offline stores where they sell agricultural inputs to these farmers. And they're going to be using these funds to expand that number to 5,000 stores and also to enter into new geographies. All right, that is all the startup news that I have for you guys this week. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something from it. And if you did, it would mean a lot to us if you could hit the like button, share this video with a friend or two, and also if you haven't already subscribed, now would be a great time to do so. We post new videos every single week about Indian startups, entrepreneurs, and the latest news. Also, I wanted to say a big thanks to all of our Backstage with Millionaires members, the people who financially support what we do here, our unicorns, our decacorns, and our hectacorns. All of you guys are amazing people. Thank you so much for your financial support. It really does mean a lot to us. And also, thanks to everybody who's been sending super thanks our way in the comments. But even if you can't afford to financially support what we do here, just the fact that you've watched this video through to the end, the fact that you've watched the whole thing is pretty incredible. So thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Backstage with Millionaires, and I will see you in the next one.